and I was thinking about like, oh, we need like a cold open, right? Okay, whatever.
Uh-huh.
But I was also, and I started thinking about cold, and I thought about the word open. I was like, oh, I need something to drink. And then I thought about my movie experience because I went to go see the new Spider-Man,
Okay.
and I was sitting there, and I was just, I got a Sprite, which is arguably the best soda that exists,
Sure.
and I was just drinking it, and I was thinking like, did these get more carbonated? Like
Did sodas
everything
get more
is,
carbonated? Is that your point?
yeah, it's soda has become spicier, I feel. It's and like it's just too much. I think. What do you? I mean, like, what is Autumn thoughts?
It's literally a scientific fact that your taste buds change when you get older. So I think
That's
it
not
literally
true.
is old man thoughts. I think that you are having old man reactions to soda pop. I think soda pop is hitting you differently now because
When
you're.
did gum get so minty? It's just I had a wonderful time watching the new Spider-Man's movie. It was
Uh-huh.
fantastic. If I
Yeah,
had
it's
one
just so
negative,
loud.
it was so loud and the Sprite is too spicy.
Were the tickets so much money too? Because when you were young, there was only 2 bits to see a movie.
No, I have the AMC pass. I'm not an idiot, Autumn. So it's just, anyways.
Anyways,
Hello,
hello.
everyone.
Cold
Welcome in.
open,
Welcome to
spicy.
episode 2 of Fandom Social, which we are calling. Hold on, let me go to the top of the script. The evolution of geek fandom from niche
Yep.
to mainstream culture.
Yep.
That is our deep dive segment, which we will get into a little bit later on in the show. My name is Paul. Who are you?
I'm Autumn. Hi.
All right,
Wait.
check. Two pop culture fans who just want to hang out. This is a live show, clearly, where we can just hang out and talk about all things pop culture with you guys. We're just two normal people who love to talk about extraordinary things. So, which is,
Or dumb things or
uh,
anything.
Autumn, it's a tagline. I'm trying to make it stick. Okay.
I know I was adding to it. It's catchy.
This is going
Marketing.
All right. Well,
Timing.
hey everyone. Welcome to Fandom Social episode 2. Thank you guys so much for being here. I don't know if you guys have noticed because of all of the marketing that we've done for the show.
You guys, we've been so busy.
Oh my God. It has been a busy week for
Yeah.
both of our jobs. We have
Yeah.
both been very, very busy, working ridiculous hours. So we, on Friday, I think, we're like, did you do the outline? Like, we got to do an outline.
Did you market anything? I didn't market anything.
We didn't do a damn thing. But we're here, as always. We got it together. We've got a show, and we are very, very excited to bring it to all of you. So we've got a little bit of a table of contents for you guys. We're going to go through the last episode's Explorathon. Just to remind you, our watch was Jean Dielmont, 23 Quai de Commerce, 1080 Bruxelles. That's the movie we watched. Our read was A Man Called Ove. It's Ove, right? Ove, A Man Called Ove, which loosely translates to Tom Hanks. And Listen is the Rick Astley Whenever You Need Somebody album. That, to be honest, has got some bops. But we'll get into it in a second. Then we've got another Lost in Translation bit, a fan favorite. You guys kept asking for it. We are delivering. Fan favorite.
Over 2 people said something about it last time, so
it's not us.
We hear you.
It's not us, so it counts. So Lost in Translation is a game that we play where I am going to read very negative reviews for very good movies and see if Autumn can guess what the movie is based on just the context of the negative reviews. I really don't. Last time you got it, it was The Matrix. I don't think you're going to get this one.
Last time was actually, it took a bit too. Like, that was hard. I didn't think I was going to get there.
Yeah. And our celebrity producer didn't show up because he's busy filming the next Marvel thing.
Whatever that is. Who even watches those things?
What a loser. And then, of course, we are going to get into our deep dive, which is the evolution of geek fandom. So, welcome in, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Autumn, I'm also doing all the producing, everyone. So
okay, but we got a little bit of housekeeping to do at first.
Yes.
First of all, if you are not already following us on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button right now. This is the only place where we will be going live, so we would love to have you subscribe so that we can hopefully you get notified when we go live. If not, we also post it all around on Facebook. We have a little bit of housekeeping. I love it. So we'd love for you to follow us here. You can also join our Facebook group, which is our main home for the community. It is called Fandom Socialites. And you can find that on Facebook. It's just search for Fandom Socialites and you will find it. You also have a Facebook page. We have an Instagram account. We have a Twitter account, both of which don't have much going on quite yet. But you know what? Follow those things now, so that once we start posting, you'll be ready.
Just you
it's going to be
wait.
Amazing. Just you wait, indeed. Yeah, we've also got some other things like a TikTok account with 0 videos. So be sure to go follow us there and check that out. Main thing we want you to do, you can email us at our very own official email address, hello@fandomsocial.com. We would love to hear from you there.
Yes.
All right. Are you ready to get into it?
All right, everyone. We're going to get into last episode's Explorathon. Now, this is a segment where it's almost like I had planned this, Autumn.
It's almost like you're a producer.
Have it up to here with you, Gladding.
Means I got a ways to go.
So, the Explorathon is a segment where we essentially are dubbing it watch, read, and listen. These are things that me and Autumn do constantly, so we wanted to bring it to you. The caveat here is primarily it's things that me and Autumn have neither read, watched, or listened. These are very, very popular albums, or that should have been popular albums by the world's best-looking one-hit wonder, Rick Astley.
Cool guy.
I'd say, pretty handsome guy. He's still handsome. I got way into Rick Astley. We'll get into it.
It's a handsome ginger.
So, and then, just other movies, things that we wanted to sort of highlight that maybe are not as in the mainstream, or if they are in the mainstream, somehow me not missed it. We would love for you guys to participate with us. Next time around, we definitely promise we'll get on our marketing team about this to actually go into our Facebook group, which is Fandom Socialites, and we can share. That's where the conversation will be had with all of you, where after we've watched, read, and listened to everything in the Explorathon, you guys can go in there and keep the conversation going. Is it fair to say, I was thinking about this, Autumn, now we're just kind of working.
Be cool for a second.
This will be spoilers for these properties.
Yes.
So,
I know that if you have not yet seen Jean Delman 23 Quai de Commerce 1080 Bruxelles, but it's been on your list, spoiler alert.
Yes.
We are going to talk about the ending and everything in between. Same with A Man Called Ova or A Man Called Otto, the movies, the books. We're going to talk about all that, including the ending. So spoiler alerts for also the entire album of Rick Astley whenever you need someone.
That's
somebody.
The important one. That's
spoiler alerts.
All the Astley heads will come for us, Autumn, and I do not want to face the Astley mob.
Yep.
So let's get. So I want to do this in order because I know that Jean Diamant is the thing that we're going to talk about the most. So let's talk Rick Astley first. Let's talk about the album.
Yeah.
Now there's approximately. I had this pulled up, but I wasn't prepared. I was just on my phone the whole time.
Okay.
But what did you think of the album? Just first impressions.
I found it quite tedious to get through the whole thing because it was quite repetitive. What I did was I was reading along with the lyrics at the same time, and I went on to get some information about who wrote each of the songs, so I could kind of get a feel for whose voice it was on these songs. So my first response, and I definitely have other things to say, was like, it was a little bit of work. It was a little bit of, it required some patience. And I found that this entire week, unexpectedly, was a lesson in patience. Every single one of these movies was a lesson in patience. It really
Which neither of us
have. Movies, sorry. No, neither of us have. Not movies, but these choices were all about, it required patience, all of them.
Correct.
Yeah. So this did require my patience and my attention span, and it was a little tricky on my attention span. And I do have a thing to say, but I'll let you say your first impressions first.
So I felt very similarly, but I
Mhm.
also was getting into it. Like the first
Okay.
time around, it was super tedious. And by the time you get to, I'm looking at the album now, towards the oh, I
Jin,
was a second away.
Jin over in the comments said they missed the opportunity to call themselves assholes. Yes, we did miss that.
That makes us an
Go ahead.
asshole.
Sorry.
So I think once you start, like, once I got to the middle of the album, which is like, Ain't Too Proud to Beg, like all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah.
All of these sound like I think he was ahead of his time with some of the SEO. I was like, all of these names were pulled from songs that were bigger songs than on this album.
Yes.
And all of the music that is surrounding me. So I didn't really look at like the like the paper info on like
Yeah.
who wrote everything, but like what was coming out around this. And I was like, oh man, like just
Yeah.
all the Billy Ocean music, like all of these other artists that were releasing music around his time.
Yeah.
It's insane to think that like any of his music became popular because it was like what, 81, I think.
Yeah.
When did this come out? 81, 80, 88. I'm sorry.
88. Yeah.
88. It was a really interesting.
November 16th, 1987.
Oh,
Okay.
got it. It was good. I do like that on the production. They really like that drum.
Oh, they sure do.
Drum. Doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo,
Well,
doo-doo.
if any oldsters are out in the audience, at this time in the year in the 80s, there was Casio keyboards that had preset little beats for you, and definitely noticed when we were listening to it over here that it did seem like they went through the gamut of all the preset beats for each song. It's like, oh, this one's the marimba.
Rick Astley music and
Yes.
Clint Eastwood by the Gorillaz. That's all those presets do is create that music.
Yes.
It is, yeah, it was good. Honestly, the second time around, I was like, I'm into it. I think I just appreciated the consistency of everything.
Consistent is a good word. It's a nice way to put it. Repetitive, tedious, and mind-numbing is another way I put it. But
the next show will be less tedious. I sure hope so. We've got something special planned for how we're going to do these next ones. Let's.
That's actually, Dwayne, I can say this. That's up to you guys.
Yeah. Tedious is a state of mind, pal. So jot that down. All right. What's your thing?
Okay.
Because I really don't have that much more to say about this.
I listened to track 1, Never Gonna Give You Up, and then basically listened to that song over and over again 9 more times or 8 more times. Just different. I do think that, a couple of them were a little better than others, but it was very repetitive. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, track number 10, he covers one of the classics. He covers When I Fall in Love, which is one of the standards. And his voice on that album, on that track, was outstanding. Like, it's not just like it was good for Rick Astley. Like, I would have bought an entire album of him covering standards like Michael Bublé. Like, it was like good. Like, I put that in my Spotify playlist, which is I have a on Spotify I have something I call Autumn's mixtape, and it's like my mixtape of and it's probably 300 or 400 songs on there. And if I love something, it goes on the mixtape. It went on the mixtape. It's that good. I listened to it over and over, and it was outstanding. And I thought, I need to know the story of who decided to put this standard at the end. You guys, if you haven't listened to it, don't listen to the whole album. It's not worth it. But go to track number 10. When I Fall, track number 10, as if they're popping in a CD or a cassette. Go to Spotify or YouTube or wherever and look up When I Fall in Love, sung by Rick Astley.
I think that's also, if I'm looking at it, I think that's on the deluxe version.
Probably. But I think it's on the regular. Yeah, the expanded remaster has more of them. Okay. I listened to the regular one, and I just listened to the first original. And again, I would have purchased an entire, at the time that this came out, I would have purchased a whole album, and I would have been a lifelong fan.
And there are glimpses. So, like, I watched this tiny little 15-minute documentary. It was more on like the memification of Rick Astley and like how, how fascinating it became. But he was in another band. Did you see that? Like when he was younger, right? He was in another band, and they were called like I don't know the name of it. So I'll just steal one of Andy Dwyer's, like Jet Black Pope. right?
Sure.
So he's in one of those, and the guy that went and discovered him, essentially, he'd said like he did the thing that was like, I don't care about any of you. Like he laser focused on Rick Astley, and that was in like '86. So from him just playing at proms to Never Give You Up, it was less than a year.
That's crazy.
That he recorded it, all the clothes, like the music video alone for Never Gonna Give You Up is amazing.
So flowy.
And just the one dude in the back, just like this is the only one they can afford. This is some dude in the back just dancing. And I loved it. I had a lot of fun.
It's just the cameraman's cousin.
Yeah. He's just like
wait, bring that guy in front of the camera.
Damien, you're gonna get paid. We're gonna feed you. Just dance. There's no music. Just dance, Damien. No one cares.
Dance,
shut up. But yeah, it was really good. And then of course there is, depending on your perspective, the legend of Rick Astley he'll not be remembered by his music. He'll be remembered by the memification of Never Gonna Give You Up, which again, that could be like its own little relaxed fit show that we could do on just the importance of that song, but also how effing cool he is about it. Like he has never come out and said stop using it. He's never like charged people. Like he's never demanded royalties for it because
he's never tried to make people stop.
Yeah, and he left music for years. For like 15 years, came back to do like the Macy's Day Parade with Foster's Home for Imaginary Kids, and he rickrolled everyone.
Yes.
It's
amazing. Did you see that when he came onto the Foo Fighters concert and they sang it? And Foo Fighters brought him out and they sang that song and he sang it. And they played it. He sang it.
I like that we're both also so scarred from our current jobs that we are just afraid of copyright infringement. So we haven't sang a damn thing. I can hear you. All right. Well, let us know in the comments, guys. Did you guys watch? Did you guys listen to it?
Jen Edwards has a great comment.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There it is. The music video makes Rick Astley of this guy in the prison yard.
Yes, Jen Edwards says the music video makes Rick Astley look like the toughest guy in the prison yard. And you know what? That was some creative filmmaking. So hats off to them.
It was. Maybe the one Martha Stewart went to. All right. So we did have another one. Let's talk about a man called Uwe.
Okay.
What did you think?
Okay. So first I listened to the audiobook because I do a lot of commuting. And that was narrated by J.K. Simmons. And it was outstanding. Like I'm driving home. Toward the end of it, I was driving home. It had been a long day, granted, but I'm listening to J.K. Simmons as he's reading the last, couple chapters, just sobbing, silent, weeping waterfall tears as I'm driving. So good. It was so sweet and so good and so compelling. And I loved it. Definitely not for everyone because there's some trigger warnings because the whole point is that his wife has recently died. And it's interesting because he is trying to kill himself multiple times, which sounds like a terrible thing. But for him, it's just practical. Like, his wife's not here. And in his mind, she's waiting for him. So he's finishing up business so he can come join her. And whenever he fails because of people getting in the way, he'll go and he'll apologize for being late. Like, I don't like to keep you waiting. Sorry. So to him, it's not an emotional, like, life is terrible and I don't want to be alive anymore. It's like, she's waiting for me and I need to go be with her.
Yeah. It's like an operational decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, while it definitely should be something that's really upsetting and triggering, it kind of isn't because it's, not a thing of desperation for him. But
Tom
Hanks.
I love.
So then I watched the Tom Hanks version, The Man Called Otto, and then I watched the Swedish version, Man Called Ove. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, out of all three, the book is amazing, and I love it. I thought the Swedish version, I thought was truer to the book and a little truer to the character. I mean, they're both good, truer to the character and definitely elicited a more emotional response, went more into his childhood and his parents and all of that. And I thought that was really great. So I loved all three of them. All of them made me cry and in a really good way.
Yeah, they, I got through a few chapters of the book. I just unfortunately did not have the time to do most of it, but I did watch both movies as well. And it did seem like a man called Uwe was it was definitely more focused on his story rather than wrapping up a narrative of like everyone involved. Like A Man Called
Right.
Otto, I felt definitely had more plot devices that we're more just used to and akin to. And
Yeah.
it's also Tom Hanks, so it's like you
Yeah.
have this inherent built-in sort of feeling towards him when you see him. It's more relaxing and like
Yeah.
everything just there's a little bit of weight taken out of it constantly. And I felt with this Swedish version, it was the stakes felt higher. I knew how it ended because I'm familiar with it, but it just felt higher. I felt it was a little bit more. It was played a little more realistic, and then also I think like once we start getting in towards like the final acts, which we can sort of get into, I felt that A Man Called Otto wrapped everything up better, but
Yeah.
I felt like it rushed towards the end faster than the Swedish.
Yes, Man Called Otto definitely rushed up the
Mm-hmm.
end. And in the book, he specifically says, and it's a big point in the book, he says in his letter that he leaves for her, when I die, I don't want a ceremony. I don't want anything fancy. Just put me in the ground. And both movies had him say, I want a funeral and have people come who feel that I pulled my weight. So like, yeah, we've got some comments. Desmond said, I only managed to see the Tom Hanks film and I thought it was pretty influenced by Harold and Maude. I did not see that, but I have heard that from other people as well. And James said, reminds me of the movie Gran Torino in ways. For sure. I mean, and I love myself a cantankerous man with a heart of gold. Love that whole genre. So Sanford and Son is another one.
Cantankerous man.
Archie Bunker.
Yes. Cantankerous Man with a Heart of Gold will literally be the name of my autobiography. So
100%. You're just waiting to get old to fit the vibe that you are.
I'm already wearing my loafers.
Perfect.
Freaking ready. I liked it. I thought it was good. A good heartfelt movie. I was more invested in, I think, the Tom Hanks version just because I had the time to sit down and watch that one the most. I am a crier in movies as well, and the only time I cried in the movie was like it really was like the end of the film, or towards the end of the film, when he needs to tell, I can't remember her name now, but the mom, like essentially why he is the way he is, and it's so uncomfortable for him. And I'm not very good at sharing intimate details about myself. And so like I picked up on a lot of that and how visually like I maybe wonder, I was like, oh, is Tom Hanks like also need therapy? Because he also played that a little too well.
Desmond said the best old man burial line is still Secondhand Lions. Quote, just put us in the damn ground next to the stupid lion. 100%.
I love that movie.
I do too.
Oh my God, I forgot about it. I'm watching Secondhand Lions tonight.
Amy said, I thought the audiobook was great. Haven't watched either film yet. Amy, if you like the audiobook, I highly recommend A Man Called Ova first.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like it's going to make you feel a little more connected to the book, and then watch Man Called Otto if you're going to watch both. So.
Yeah. I feel the movie itself just puts you in the headspace for the character. Like it's a perspective piece. So like you want to see the world through his eyes, and I think the book does that well, the Swedish version. And then Tom Hanks is just great. So can never fail.
Let's get to the next one. I'm ready.
All right, let's
I'm so
do
excited.
It. So the homework that you all probably didn't do is
raise your hand truthfully if you watched this. Why am I so blurry now? I did.
Okay, so this was Jean Diamond, 23, Quai, I think it's Quai de Commerce, 1080 Bruxelles. So this is a movie. Autumn, let's get into really quickly, because you picked this. Lightning round, why you chose this.
Okay.
Then we'll get into initial thoughts.
For anyone who didn't see our last episode, the reason I chose this film as our first watch is because I found some articles saying that there was something called Sight and Sounds. I think there's some
Sight and Sound.
Thank you. Sight and Sound. And they interviewed 1,600 film critics from all around the world, all different genres, all different tastes, specialties, and asked them to give an unranked top 10 list of the best films of all time. And this one showed up on those lists the most. And it was this 1975, what language?
French.
Country?
Sorry.
French. Okay. And French. And it was
Belgium. Sorry.
Belgium. Thank you. Belgian film in the 1975, 3+ hours, 3 hours and 20 something minutes. And it was quite an undertaking. And literally the description said it is a exercise in patience that is rewarded and that is purposefully boring for the first 2 hours. And so I said, let's try this. And I'm going to tell you one thing. Paul and I took the opposite approach that we would normally, I think, take. That I watched the film once and then stopped. I didn't read anything. It definitely resonated. I really connected and really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Not the word. But I connected with it. I really, I connected with this film and it stuck with me and it stayed in my mind. I did not read or watch or take in any other information about this. And Paul, what did you do? Which would normally be the opposite reactions to an assignment.
Yeah, so it took me approximately 2 days to watch this movie. Like I watched like the first half, and I fell asleep.
Yeah.
I'll keep it real with everyone. So then I rewinded a bunch of it. I fell asleep like 45 minutes in. So I did that. The second day I finished it. And then once I finished it, I had the same thought that Autumn did, where I'm like, I don't know if I liked this. Like, I don't want to say like I liked this movie.
Right.
But as I started thinking about it, and I had a friend, I was talking to her on the phone about this movie, I realized how impactful the film is.
Yes,
so
that's a good word for it.
I think there's a difference between having a great film and an impactful film. Like, there are things that, cinema or TV can do that sort of open your eyes to a lot of things, and this was one of those movies. So after that, I became obsessed. And I watched about 5.5 hours, longer than the movie, video essays that just break this movie down, why it's so important, why it's overrated, and there's a lot of different elements as to where people took this film and what it meant to them, what it didn't mean to them. Also, Sight and Sound, they're an interesting sort of poll type taking company, so even that's a little strange. But
I feel like I need to go first because mine's going to be pretty simplistic because I'm just, all I have is my opinion, like my perception, and that's it. I have no other input. And I feel like you're going to have so much more perspective than I will.
Guys, I'm like really smart now.
You don't even know.
You don't even know. Okay.
It definitely made me want to go back and watch it again. It's 3 hours plus. And what I noticed was that it was like a 3-act play. It took place over 3 days. And the first day I was struck by how it was like a ballet. She was never rushing, but she never stopped moving. And it was this perfectly choreographed, orchestrated day. It was just going through her day of getting herself ready and making food and cleaning things and preparing for her son to come home and cooking a meal with him and, a little light prostitution and paying some bills and things like that. And it was just so, like I said, she never stopped moving, giving herself a bath, everything. She never stopped moving. There was no wasted moment, but she was never rushing either. I noticed she never sat unless it was to eat. And then she immediately got up and did the next thing. And it felt like this was a very practiced choreograph. It was like a ballet. And then day 2 starts again. And there's little cracks, little mistakes, little mess ups that start to appear. And I want to go back to go see where I feel like I know where the first one was, but like, where did this start? And it starts to get a little bit worse and little mistakes start happening. And then day 3 is just off. And again, we did say spoilers. Day 3, just like when she has her afternoon appointment with what do you call him? Her John. She ends up, after they're done, she ends up just casually, low key, just taking her scissors that were
got his ass
and just stabbed him in the neck. No reason. He wasn't violent with her. Nothing happened. It was just what she did. And then it just shows her. It ends with just her sitting in the living room. And again, I noticed as the film go on, the periods of time in which she was sitting doing nothing got longer and longer and longer. And it ended on her sitting for a good solid minute, 2 minutes of film, just sitting. And then it's over. And it was just like Laura Keela said, can you imagine filming this movie so deliberate?
It's precise.
It was very precise.
Yeah.
So that my thing was just this amazing watching and I had my questions are okay. I was left with all these questions and I didn't want to know the answer. I just want to think about the questions. Is this something that she had lived her whole life and that she suddenly started to unravel and snap and this was her snapping, or is she like Dexter and this is who she is as a person and that she was starting to unravel in the way Dexter will start to be loose around the edges and not be so
there's a timer. Yeah.
and then once he fulfills that need to kill, now he's back and under control again. And I think, has she been doing this for years and this is what she does to get her synchronicity back? Or what did we watch this woman unravel and this is the end and now she's waiting for the police to come so she can finally be done with this constant dance? I don't know the answer. Is there 17 other possibilities? I don't know, but I love that I don't know. And I love that it's never gone away. Like, it's amazing. Go.
Yeah, it's a really, really interesting film. I watched a ton of people dissect this film from the perspective of like a film major, of just like a traditional art major, of someone who is, you know, like a women's studies major. And there's various, and other people who are like, you know, they're like, this is a like this is the worst, most overrated movie of all time. They're like
feminism.
They're like forcing woke on us. They're like trying to make us think women exist. These are quotes, Autumn. These are direct quotes. And I think I'm gonna put up this comment. Sorry to put you on spot, Dwayne. But he says, "But do you feel your life is more complete having watched it?" Absolutely.
Yes, 100%.
I'll tell you why very specifically. Me and Autumn,
also, life
I
is
can't
never
even.
Complete, Desmond.
Well, we'll see. I mean, we die. Just bear me next to the damn lion.
The lion.
Just put us next to the lion.
Yeah.
It is a movie that was made again very specifically, very deliberately, and it was made in a time that literally nothing else was done that way. And I think, and God, I sound so pretentious, but to really understand like how important this film is, like you have to understand who made the film, which is Chantal Akerman, the director, who she had, you know, a bevy of or like a ton of mental health problems that she had diagnosed and she was taken care of in her own time. She was a lesbian. She was Jewish. She was an only child for a long time. And it's funny knowing all these things. I watched documentaries with just her, and it was an interesting film to watch her talk about this. And again, we really have to get to our deep dive segment.
We do.
So I'll keep it brief. But she was she postulated something that I found really interesting, was that in cinema at that time, which this was 75, I believe this came out.
Yeah.
Is that right? I believe this was 1975. Yeah. So 75 that this movie came out, and she had just been noticing that in all these films, right, there is something in cinema that is real. You can look it up. It's called the male gaze. It's just like, you know, you've all heard the term.
Yep.
And so this was the first movie, Autumn, that I've ever watched that I was like, that was 100% unequivocally, like, I can't argue the what Chantal Akerman calls the female gaze.
Yeah.
And
Desmond's comment. Desmond says, I do like how the filmmaker put the eye level of the camera at her own eye level rather than the norm. So that goes right along with what you were saying, 100%.
And it just definitely had an air to it, and all of these things that Chantal Akerman felt defined her, as well as things that people felt defined her, that they would just put her in these boxes of, you know, having mental health issues, being Jewish, being a woman, being a lesbian. It's in this film. And one of the things that I felt was really noticeable when I was watching a lot of clips afterwards was that she had said, like, men write women as like they're chasing something. Yeah. So they write it as like, I need to write you in this box so that by the time I get my prize, it's been carefully crafted by the words that I wrote.
Right.
And so her, as a woman who's only grown up around women, who had all these powerful women in her life who move the way that the main character does, where they're just always doing something. They're always cooking, they're always cleaning, they're always like shopping. She'd said, like, I was conflicted because I have so much love and admiration for women because I was raised by powerful women, but she's like, I'm also just by my nature sexually attracted to women. So like she wrote, I can't remember what's the name of the main character. Can you look it up? But she wrote her in a way. Oh yeah, Jean right. She wrote.
I'm like, is it something different?
It's Bruxelles is her name.
Samantha.
So she wrote Jean Dielman like in a way that like she had all this like respect for her, but then she was also like, I wanted her to be attractive, like to me, and it was like a really interesting way. She's like, oh yeah, this is how like I as a woman view women.
Yeah.
As like this never ending sort of like swirl of like beauty and controlled chaos, I think is the word she
and this
used.
Activity. Yeah.
And
motion.
Exactly. And I remember it was so funny. Like I was talking to a friend of mine about this film, and I was just telling her like how much I loved it. And it just reminded me of like, I sat there and I was going on this like rant about like sort of like feminism and like how the movie like was really impactful. It was in a way that it showed you just how other characters can be written. And I just sat there and I was like, huh, this is weird. This is me like me like I don't even know how to phrase it. But like, Autumn, have you heard of this thing called feminism?
No, I haven't. Please explain it to me.
That's what that conversation was like. Did you know that like women are not all like in movies?
You know, women are actually just like people.
And so like all of this, like, you know, I put lightly, but like those are all things that this movie tackles. And the fact that we are still talking about this today, and then so many people, 1,600 filmmakers have put this on their top film list, like, it is a testament to not necessarily like at all whether or not this film is the best film, because you'll never like. I think it's the dumbest thing to say like, what's the greatest film of all time?
What's the best?
Like, I think it should be like, what's the avenue to like. I think it's more fun to talk about like, how do we get there? Like, how do we get to the greatest film of all time? Like, setting those parameters. But like why would you ever want to just settle and be done? That's like that's like a bunch of people we've known, Autumn, who are just like, great comic books stopped coming out after the 90s. It's like, God, who cares? Go away. And so it was an interesting film. It's an incredibly important film.
Yeah.
And Paul, that's what
it is. It is definitely an exercise in patience. It does require you to actively participate in the film. You have to be really watching it, not just have it on. You have to be really watching it to take part in it. And it, like I said, it requires patience. It requires some effort. It requires you to be, you know, now that we've told you what happens, watch and you'll see day one, flawless. And it ends like there's like a little title card in between each day. It tells you like, that was act 1. Here's act 2. Here's act 3. And now that you know what's coming, watch for it and watch where it starts to lead to that inevitable ending. Very interesting.
Yeah, again, an incredibly like particular movie, a very just a definitive movie, I think, of that time, especially now. That again, it doesn't necessarily mean it is the greatest movie of all time, but I think it's important to see how people are like willing to have that conversation about it, and it just brought it to the forefront. But yeah,
it packed a way bigger punch than I thought it would. Honestly, I thought I'd just be like, oh, let's watch this movie. It'd be fun.
Yeah, my choice was Crocodile Dundee too, but we went with yours. So,
that's not a movie.
Yeah, and Dwayne Madison said something that I completely agree with. That is, no matter how much a reviewer a person is, any best list is still subjective. I agree completely. Like, I don't think there is a best film. I have tons of hot takes that will make you guys shut the show off right now. But while you're here, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thank you so much for being here.
We need to pick next our new assignments, because we could go on about this movie, and we have. So we're gonna do some fun.
Let's do it.
You guys are gonna get into it. So what do you want to do first?
Let's do it in order. So let's do watch.
Okay, so you guys are going to help us pick this time. This time we have, for all 3 categories, we've got some random numbers for you guys to pick. We've got some lists. We're going to have somebody, any of you guys, out in the chats, pick a number. We'll tell you the range. And then we're going to go to that list and pick it. So we're going to have something to watch, something to read, and something to listen to. And each one is going to be coming off of a list that we have found this list somewhere. We didn't make the list. It exists. And so we are going to start with watch. We are not going to tell you where the list is yet because we don't want you to go and pick something. But I will tell you it is 1 through 57. There are 57 movies on this list. And so we want you guys to pick a number between 1 and 57. And then we will tell you. Let's see, 1 and 57. And we will tell you, we'll tell you which one it is.
We're not watching the pirate movie.
You're not watching the pirate movie.
Enough of the pirate movie. It will not be watched on this show.
Marco says 16. 16 was the first number I saw. 16. Ooh. Okay. So this is the list that we pulled from is IMDb's top movies you've never seen. And number 16 is a movie called Annihilation that came out in 2018. It's adventure, drama, and horror. I am not a fan of horror movies, but this is the assignment. So this is the one we're going to stick with. It says a biologist signs up for a dangerous secret expedition into a mysterious zone where the laws of nature don't apply. Starring Natalie Portman, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Tessa Thompson, and Benedict Wong, directed by Alex Garland. So that is our watch. It is on Prime Video and on Showtime. Oh, Showtime with Prime Video channels. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what we're watching.
It's really good.
It looks like Desmond and Dwayne have both seen it. I haven't seen it yet. Paul has seen it. So that's the film. Do you want to put the name of it on the bottom of the screen just in case? Okay, so it's called Annihilation 2018. We're going to watch that. We're going to talk about that in 2 weeks. So, John Galgano's seen it. Laura Quiles has seen it. Okay. So that's what we are watching. We missed out on some pretty interesting other ones there, but I'm excited. No, so we're watching Annihilation. Okay.
Yeah, this is a good one. This will be good to talk about it. And it's not 3 hours and 20 minutes. So
and it's in English.
I don't have to put my reading glasses on.
Okay, which one do you want to do next? Because I got both of them right here.
Let's do read.
Okay. For read, you guys, I have this book. It's 1001 books for every mood. So now we're going to be asking you for a number between 1 and 1001. And we're going to find this. Now, Paul and I do reserve the right to say, nah, because we don't want to pick something really long, really dense. It's never going to happen in 2 weeks. So let's see.
I'm not reading Order of the Phoenix and I'm not reading War and Peace. Arguably the 2 greatest books ever written, but
let's see the first number that pops up in the chats between 1 and a bunch of numbers popped up. Okay. The first one I see is Dwayne Matson is 894, but we got a bunch of backups. So we're going to start at 894. See what we get.
Oh, God.
Oh, God. We're not reading this. It is Delta of Venus by Anise Nin. No, I can't get through Anise Nin. It's very dense, very pretentious. Just no. Sorry, Dwayne, no. Andrew Wurshborn says 42.
Answer to the universe.
Yep, that's true. A series of unfortunate events by Lemony Snicket.
Ooh, do I reserve the right to watch a show?
You cannot, because I do happen to know that what they did with this show is combined, a series of unfortunate events is a very short book, because the movie combines 3. It's a whole series of 7 books, I think, or 13. It's 13. The movie combines the first 3. So a series of unfortunate events is just the first one. It's very short. So that's going to be, do we want to pick one more and let the audience pick which one? Or do you want to stick with this? I am very short. Do we want to read a series of unfortunate events? Do you guys want to read that?
Let's do, you know what? Dwayne was...
Pete and Agnemar, correct. That is light erotica. We are not going to read The Anise Nin, not the Lemony Snicket.
Oh, Lemony Snicket erotica?
Okay, so let's read Lemony Snicket. Why not? I've never read it.
Right.
Okay.
I've never read it. Well, I'll be honest. I read it, but I was it was years ago. This was 2005 when I was a kid. Oh, I feel good today, man. All right.
All right. So, you guys, the book is the very first in the series, A Series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. That's what we are going to read. Good job. Was that Andrews? Good job. Okay.
Yes.
All right, guys. This one's going to be fun. For the listen, not only do we have that, we've got this bad boy right here.
This one I'm excited about.
Yeah, look at this. This is a monster of a book. 1001 albums you must hear before you die. So, give me a number. Now, this is going to be a page number because they don't number. Don't bite your friends. Okay, so
they're coming in.
This one is going to be a page number, and sometimes the page number has more than one. Like this one, for instance, has two different ones on the page. So we'll see what we get. Okay, the first one. What's the first number we had since? Okay, James Lambert says 8.
8.
Kenshi says 37. Let me see if there's even any albums on 8. It's going to be very old, I can tell you that. This one, they do it in order that they were released. There are no songs on 8. I'm sorry, not through.
I'm gonna pick another number from someone else. Let's do Dwayne's number 741.
741. Okay, that's going to be more recent. Let's do this.
Ooh, I hope it's disco. It's good. I bet you it's Taylor Swift. 741.
Interesting. It's Hole. Live Through This.
I don't know what that is.
It's 90s grunge. So Hole is Courtney. What's her freaking name? Courtney Love, which is Kurt Cobain's wife. Yes, Hole.
Hole.
Like no. It's Hole. Like Live Through This. I've never actually listened to this. So do we want to veto this and pick another one, or do you want to go with it?
You know what? I can use some insufferability.
Okay.
Yeah, Courtney Cox is insufferable. Not Courtney Cox. Courtney Cox is wonderful.
Courtney
Except
Love.
in Cougar Town.
Yeah.
I feel like of everyone, Andrew Wurstborn saying that's a good album. I believe it. I believe Andrew's listened to this.
Okay. So we are going to listen to Hole, Live Through This. Love it. Okay, guys, that's our watch, read, listen for the next 2 weeks.
Annihilation. That was an easy one. That's a good one. We're going to read A Series of Unfortunate Events. Just the first one, right?
Yes, just the first one. It's very short.
Mm-hmm. And listen, Whole, Live Through This. All right.
Okay.
Not bad.
I'll also post this in the group so you guys know what they all are. Okay. Pete says, I guess I have to dig out my CDs. You know what? Columbia House has a really good deal where you're going to get like 12 of them for 2 cents.
You don't have to pay them back, right?
Nope. You never have to pay anything else.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Autumn, we are 47 minutes in. Should we just forego the game, or do you want to give it a shot?
Let's go with it.
All right. All right, everyone. So we have a super quick game that is actually my favorite part of the show. So
that's why
arguably, like from all of the letters we've gotten in, everyone has said this is also their favorite part of the show. This is a game called Lost in Translation, where I'm reading really bad reviews to really good movies, or at least really famous movies that most people have thought are really good. Now, these are either separate reviews or if they're are like most people, they leave really long reviews, and so I just kind of cut it up a bit. So, I can't. Oh, there it is. Okay, it's gonna be hard for me to run the timer and do this. So, I'll just figure it out. Then, okay, ready, Autumn?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Here we go. Open that up. All right. This is nothing but a movie glamorizing thugs, crime, and people without talent. The rap fans may like it as their fantasy, someone from the hood with no talent or brains making it big. However, few other people will appreciate this smut unless they're trying to be PC.
8 Mile?
It's 8 Mile! I didn't think you were going to get that. That was, okay, I shouldn't have led with that one.
Yeah, Liza said Godfather. That was my first thought. It was first Godfather, and then I was like, oh, it's music. Okay.
Andrew said Boys in the Hood. I would have probably also maybe went Boys in the Hood.
Yeah.
Um,
Say the review again. I want to hear it.
you want to hear it again? This is nothing but a movie glamorizing thugs, crime, and people without talent. The rap fans may like it as their fantasy, someone from the hood with no talent or brains. However, a few other people will appreciate this smut unless they're trying to be PC about it. There's better ones. I wasn't even through. He also, same person said there was nothing redeeming about this cinematic disaster. I guess to save money making sets, they decided to film 75% of this movie from the inside of a car that looks like it was salvaged from the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Also, what's the deal with this car? Why is he went on about the car for quite a bit.
He was obsessed with the car.
Actor driving around, very exciting. We all love to see actor as he drives from place to place in Detroit. Detroit was going to be my
the big thing.
nod to you.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious.
I have to read my
Okay.
favorite review though before we get into our deep dive for this, because there's a lot of confidence in this review. Okay. 10 years from now, people will hear the plot of this film and scoff that it was made by a video star. This was in 2008, Autumn. A guy trying to get respect by winning a rap battle. Yes, folks, a rap battle. These gangstas, spelled it stuz, don't use guns to take out the enemy. They use raps. I don't like quotation marks all over the place here.
Raps.
What a ridiculous film. Eventually, people will no longer talk about this Eminem as a rapper, but as a failed actor. This is my favorite part. Leave the music to real musicians like Vanilla Ice. I was like, could they not think of one other white rapper?
Nope.
Like, it's either Eminem or Vanilla Ice.
That's it. And then between the two, this person feels that Vanilla Ice is the real musician of the two.
And said in 10 years, we will not be talking. At this point, in any span of 10 years on either side of 2008, we hadn't been talking about Vanilla Ice.
Also, I've noticed a commonality between these two different episodes, that people who leave terrible reviews like to use quotes a lot. Like last time, the guy talked about his girlfriend.
Yeah. Like, dude, I hope this is like the same guy. It isn't. Unfortunately, none of them left other reviews. It was the only review they had left because I wanted to see what they did like, which is sort of worse in a way. Like, this is the only review you got. Like, you created an IMDb review account
just to do this
in 2008, Autumn. to do this. It was still it was still called the Internet Movie Database at that point.
Yeah. Oh my god. I love it.
Tenchi says that movie sounded like a hot take from Fox and Friends.
It did.
It did not sound like that.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man. Well, that was Lost in Translation. We'll play it as much as we can. We have a few other things. Some other games and stuff we'll play in between our segments. But up now is our deep dive segment. Right on time. And this is sort of, I'm calling this, Autumn, this is how I view this, like part one of kind of two of a series that we're doing. And this is one side of the coin, and our next episode in 2 weeks will be the other side of that coin, I feel. So we are going to talk about the evolution of geek fandom from niche to mainstream culture. We're going to explore the journey of sci-fi, fantasy, and superhero fandom as it transitions from a once stigmatized niche to a celebrated cornerstone of mainstream culture, discussing the impact of groundbreaking franchises, conventions, and digital media on the growth and acceptance of geek culture. Now, Autumn has a script that she has done an amazing job writing. Once again, Autumn, kudos. It is wonderful, and we're going to read through it, and I'm not going to say a word in between sentences.
Oh, of course we're not.
Nope.
All right. So I'm going to just start right off the top, and Paul will absolutely interrupt, and that's okay. Here we go. Geek culture, in essence, revolves around a passionate enthusiasm for specific interests that were once considered niche. It encompasses a wide range of fields, including science fiction, fantasy, comic books, video games, tabletop games, and more. Early on, geek culture was often associated with a small subset of individuals who delved deeply into these interests, often facing social stigma and ostracization. Try that again. Ostracization. I need to write different words. However,
that's not a good one.
what some saw as peculiar and eccentric, geeks saw as avenues to escape into worlds that resonated with their imagination and sense of wonder. The emergence of sci fi, fantasy, and superhero genres played a pivotal role in shaping geek culture. These genres offered fantastical narratives, compelling characters, and intricate world building, which captivated the hearts and minds of geeks. Science fiction introduced them to futuristic technologies and space exploration, while fantasy transported them to magical realms with mythical creatures and epic quests. Superheroes, with their extraordinary abilities and tales of justice, inspired geeks with their ideals and struggles.
Yeah. Now, I think, when we decided, Autumn, that we were going to be doing this topic, I mean, there's just so much you can cover when you're talking about the rise of geek fandom. Also, did you appreciate how I renamed the titles to all these? Did you see them?
I did not see them all.
This one is called The Origins of Geek Fandom, The Geek Awakens.
Oh boy.
To call back to the Star Trek film.
Next time I will read the titles. Yes. That what I just read, that first segment was called The Origins of Geek Fandom.
How will people know, Autumn? Now, again, Autumn has done a great job of writing an entire blog that will go live after the show, and you guys can read all of this in your leisure. So this is more of the conversational aspect, of this. But there is just so much to cover when you're talking about geek culture. We have been, involved in geek culture literally our whole lives. But I think for our very specific view of this, Autumn, we can talk about how we met. Because it is relevant to this, and there is a connection.
Very unique. Where we met, the place that we met was very.
And the time in which we met. So me and Autumn had met at a comic book store. I believe, what did we say, 2012? What did we write? I wrote the date.
Somewhere around there, 2012, 2013. Yeah.
2012, 2013, me and Autumn met at a comic book store in California. There was just this young, up-and-coming, not blowing people out of the water, not knocking your socks off, but mildly handsome dude looking for a job at a comic book store, and then I hired him. That's fun.
We met working at this comic book shop, and I think that it was a unique comic book shop within the world of comic book shops. So this was a female-owned and operated comic book store, and I came in to partner up with that owner. Her name was Portland, and her name still is Portland. But at the time she owned it, name was Portland. We partnered up, and I came in to do social media, marketing, events, and special projects and things like that. And so I was working there doing that, and Paul was there working the counter, helping customers and helping to keep the store running. And because this was a female-owned comic book store, which there weren't that many of at the time, we really had a unique customer base because we made a very specific decision to cater to and to market to a different clientele. That while we would welcome everyone, we really wanted to market to women and to other marginalized people in that geek community who maybe didn't feel welcome or comfortable in other comic book stores. We did a lot of events. We had a geek boutique, we had a geek girls night, we had geek singles night, we had geek prom, we had all kinds of events that were very inclusive. And so I felt that we were doing that right at the time when Paul can talk about kind of what was happening at that time.
Yes. So again, the rise of geek culture is such a very, very, very broad term. So we're specifically talking about the current state of pop culture. And something really, really important happened in 2012, and that was the launch of Geek and Sundry. And Geek and Sundry being, Felicia Day's production company, and they went on to do Critical Role, all kinds of stuff. But we were talking about how Felicia Day really sort of became this archetype for the geek girl, and and we just happened to be working at this comic book shop and doing all of these things with these
Yeah.
comic book retailers in this space at the same
At
time.
the same
And
time. It was not
and
because of what she was doing. It was like at the same time that these things
yeah,
were happening. It was really
and it
interesting.
and it was interesting. And again, we can talk about. I mean, I wrote out because I became obsessive. I wrote an entire schedule of like from 1999 to now of like some of the bigger milestones in pop culture.
Yeah.
And I'm curious for everyone out there. Let us know like at what point were you like, oh, this is like a big moment in pop culture. We could
Yeah.
talk about maybe ours a little bit later, Autumn. But
Yeah.
you know, I think it is really important when you're talking about like the origins of like geekdom and where all that comes from, or as some
Yeah.
local hero called it, the Geek Awakens. Um, that you know, it's important to really like start. You know, like obviously we can talk Star Wars, we can talk Jaws, but like I don't really consider Jaws like a geek movie.
Not
You know,
necessarily.
like
Yeah.
it's like a blockbuster
It was a
film.
blockbuster. Yeah.
It was like I think the start of like the current slate of
Yeah.
it's a whole that's a whole
I
other
think it
conversation.
has its own genre in the way other 80s movies do,
Right.
like E.T. and Indiana Jones. Those aren't geek movies, but they were big 80s blockbusters movies that kind of turned into its own little because of nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
Yeah, I
that's a
mean, yeah, so like we could go back and talk Star Wars, but but like really once you start getting into what Autumn I want to get into maybe the next portion of this because there
there's
is
a lot
a ton, but I believe that the current state of pop culture is really and most defined by the like groundbreaking franchise franchises that are out there and the now current like IP farms that exist.
Yeah, yeah,
And Autumn, you wrote quite a bit about that, so I'll let you go into that,
yeah,
and then maybe I'll cut in with
yeah.
some of the other
I am going to
franchises.
comment on something. I see some people in the comments that were talking about Geek Singles Night and how amazing that sounds. This was really funny because and I will get back into this, the essay here, but as we were really marketing towards women and really built this store on the backs of making women feel comfortable there, and we had events like Geek Singles Night. Geek Singles Night, when we had it, it was a great, thriving event. There were almost no men.
I was gonna say the best part.
It was so crazy. It was like only one gender showed up. And it was like there were no men came. There were like two guys there. And they just came like with their girlfriends just for fun to come to like a party. It was like it was bizarre. You would think a geek singles night, it would be like this, oh, it's just all guys there coming to meet a geek girl. No, they didn't come. They didn't arrive.
None of them.
So yeah, and it was interesting because it was such a crazy time then that us marketing, we became very successful and very known for having this female friendly, family friendly comic book store that we actually got asked to speak at the Diamond Retailers Convention about how to market to women, like how
That's
to make
right.
a women friendly comic book store. Like it was an interesting
Like,
time.
hey, we have this
Yeah.
brand new untapped market. They're called women.
It's called
Here's
the other half
know,
of the population.
I know it's crazy. They're called women.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
We can sell them. Just
It's crazy.
slap a coat of pink on everything,
Yeah.
and they'll sell like hotcakes. How many times,
Crazy.
Autumn, did
So
we
many
get
times.
like
Oh
people
my gosh.
and say like, "Oh, I'm buying something for my girlfriend or my daughter"? Like,
Yeah. Do you have any princess things,
give me
or do you
princess
have
stuff.
any
Like, no, but
stuff?
she might like Nailbiter and Saga
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Deadpool. Like, she
Yeah.
might like those
like
things.
Batman. You know what I mean? Like who knows? I think
Dude's
of that
ripped.
as the Super Hulock era, and that was really a big
I was
era.
insufferable.
Oh yeah. Okay, we're gonna get back to the essay. We're gonna come back. Okay, yeah, you were definitely the worst. All right, so geek fandom began to take shape through early forms of expression, such as fanzines and conventions. This is before the internet was a big thing. In the pre-internet era, fanzines provided a platform for geeks to share their love for very specific franchises, discuss theories, and connect with like-minded individuals. These self-published magazines became vital sources of information and camaraderie within the geek community. Similarly, conventions became gathering places for geeks to come together and celebrate shared passions. From the pioneering World Science Fiction Convention in 1939 to the birth of the San Diego Comic-Con in the 1970s, these events allowed geeks to meet creators, engage in panel discussions, and participate in cosplay, fostering a sense of community and validating their interests. So this was all kind of pre-internet, pre-digital media that this was all taking place. And this was the main place where fans could connect with each other, was in small groups in person at the comic book shop or at these conventions or on these fanzines. And then, Yes.
And Autumn, before that, I want to step in and read Laura's comment
Oh,
here.
Laura.
She says, I remember looking through comic boxes at cons back in the day and being asked about shopping for my boyfriend. Now, while that did happen, all the time, it's obviously less prevalent now. But I do want to know from everyone, including Laura, Steve, all of you guys that are here, how, before the internet, how did you connect
with other fans?
Because we know who you guys are. We do.
Yeah.
We know how big a nerds you are, which you've been nerds your whole life.
Uh-huh.
How did that manifest when you were younger? Because I've only ever known geek culture, really through the internet. I mean, a little bit when I was younger, I didn't, it wasn't as prevalent, but what were people doing? Can you answer that, Autumn? Really?
I think it's all about Stranger Things represented it really well. It's just very small groups of people that you knew locally getting together to play games, to talk about films, to read comic books, to to take this media, this all these different things that you loved and talk about them in these little small groups, and then going to conventions and things. But it was definitely in person in small little clusters. Yeah.
It was much
people
more
that you knew at school or wherever. Right. Yeah. Okay. Next segment. The title of this segment is called "The Rise of Groundbreaking Franchises: A Dance of Intellectual Properties." That was beautiful. It's really beautiful. There we go.
Copyright strike.
Yeah, please. One franchise that undeniably influenced the popularization of geek culture is Star Wars. Released in 1977, George Lucas's space opera captured the hearts of millions and forever changed the landscape of cinema. With its groundbreaking special effects, epic storytelling, and unforgettable characters like Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, Star Wars became a cultural phenomenon. Its success not only paved the way for the expansion of the franchise, but also provided a gateway for geek culture to enter the mainstream consciousness. Other franchises like Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, and Harry Potter also played a significant role in expanding the fan base and diversifying geek culture. Star Trek, specifically, with its vision of a utopian future and its emphasis on exploration and social commentary, attracted a dedicated fan base that identified with its themes of inclusivity and diversity. The Lord of the Rings, based on J.R.R. Tolkien's epic fantasy novels, introduced audiences to a richly detailed world inhabited by hobbits, elves, wizards, captivating both existing fans and newcomers alike. And of course, the wizarding world of Harry Potter took the literary and cinematic realms by storm, captivating readers and viewers with its magical narrative and relatable characters.
And I think, Autumn, this will be maybe a good point to jump in, specifically with a lot of the people here watching, is at what point, maybe in modern pop culture, when we're talking, let's say from 2000 to now, where did everyone start seeing this franchise? We really like this ization sort of thing that we're doing here. This franchisization of pop culture. And I think for me, it was Harry Potter, because I remember the books coming out. And I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan. I like it. It's cool. And I read the books and I watched the movies. But it was the first time that I remember pandemonium on both sides of that. I'm sure people have examples of other, of seeing that, elsewhere. But Harry Potter just really stuck out to me, where it was part of that craze as well.
Yeah.
And I went in and I was a little obsessive, and I combed through the Mojo numbers, the box office numbers from the year 1999 to now, and just listen, Autumn, to some of the highest grossing films of the times, and then as well as some of the other films. But watch the stark contrast, pun intended, from 1999 to once we hit 2008. We all know what happened in 2008.
Yes.
I got in my first Mazda.
I was waiting. He's not going to let that one go.
All right, so these are box office numbers by year. This is again by the Box Office Mojo, IMDb. They do a lot of tracking for Best Picture. These are majoritively domestic. I didn't have time to come through the international numbers. So 1999, Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace. The second best film was Sixth Sense. Then we have Austin Powers at third. The fifth highest grossing movie that we can consider nerdy or geek culture is The Matrix.
Okay.
The Matrix, 1999, and then at number 24, way down, is Pokemon, the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, which is a big monument for Pokemon because in 1999, like I don't care what anyone was saying, Pokemon was not what it was.
No, not at all.
I believe the access to a lot of this was not available. Mm-hmm. The housing bubble collapsed. Damn it, that was better than mine. So, okay, that's 1999. And then 2000, the movies number 1, 2, and 3, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Mission Impossible 2, and Gladiator. Again, not inherently geeky movies, but you do start seeing this shift, Autumn and everyone, of like movies and things that become successful at the box office gearing towards franchises.
Yeah.
So the biggest, the highest grossing pop culture film at the time, it was at number 6 only. It was the first X-Men movie, which was huge. And then I just put this in. I don't know if I'm not being cute about it, but it's Rugrats at number 30. It was the 30th highest grossing movie.
That's amazing.
In the year 2000. Like that's insane. And and then in 2001 we have the first Harry Potter, Shrek, Monsters Inc., Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring does not crack the top 3. But then you also get Lovecraft Tomb Raider, Atlantis. This is going to make your blood boil. The first Fast and the Furious movie. 2001. 2001.
Wow, that's okay. I did not know it was that. I did not know the franchise was that old.
I don't know how you forgot about it, cuz.
Because I'm so old.
That went right over your head.
What? Nothing goes over my head. I will catch it.
But also, we get Smallville and Star Trek Enterprise, of course.
Yeah.
Then in 2002, Spider-Man. This is the Sam Raimi one. Yeah. Star Wars: Attack of the Clones, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. So again, a shift into like franchises and household IPs that are just easy winners. We also get Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers, Men in Black 2. Which is the second one. Men in Black, if you guys also don't know, it's based off a comic as well. First Men in Black. The second movie is a little, it moves away from it. But the first one was in 1997, which is technically considered a comic book movie success.
Yeah.
So, we're there. Also, the Mothman prophecies. I just put that in because Mothman. It's badass.
You love yourself a cryptid.
2003, we get Finding Nemo, Pirates, Matrix, Return of the King. Shrek, Harry Potter, but again in 2008. After this is when it's like starts gearing up for nerds and like pop culture, like major franchises. So, of course, we get The Dark Knight, Iron Man, Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull.
Oh, right.
2008.
Wow.
Look, this is a show in a space about positivity. Which
there was another indie movie. They made one.
There was another one. It wasn't great. But again,
one.
Another household name, another franchises, all of those movies that were successful based off existing IPs, you start seeing this slip away of original IPs as considered box office successes. But so and then 2008 you have that, and then 2009 it's just more sequels of the same thing. I really just didn't find them important. So if you have a favorite movie in 2009, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
But in 2010, we get Avatar, which arguably is, whether you like it or not, I think the first one's brilliant, but it is it is a nerd movie. It is a geek culture movie. It is high fantasy. It is John Carter, but if it was good. And but it was original. So I think that's why, it crossed $1 billion and became what it was. Then you get Iron Man 2, Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows Part 1. Also, 2010, we see the rise of Sherlock. That's when Sherlock came out as well. I also left out that in 2005, we get Supernatural and Doctor Who. So once we get to 2011 and 12, that's when the convergence of like Super Wholock and that area comes in. And then again, you guys remember, this was not that long. It was 13 years ago. So it's these movies are older than my nieces, which is a real bummer for me. But then again, we get the Avengers in 2012. I think 2012 is arguably like the greatest year for, subjectively the greatest year, most important year, impactful year for pop culture movies.
Yeah.
We get the Avengers, The Dark Knight Rises, the end of Twilight, which We're not doing it.
Kidding.
We're not talking Twilight. But
we open on a big orange moon.
Nice.
Let's do this.
Just chain myself to a radiator, and let's do it. But we get the Avengers, we get the Dark Knight Rises, we get the Hunger Games, End of Twilight, and a new Spider-Man. Again, all of the most impactful moments in cinema at that time in the box offices were all based off IPs. And with things ending like Harry Potter and we get Twilight, you get like the perfect soup and space for things like the MCU.
Yeah, everybody was primed. They were primed for the MCU.
Primed and ready. And if Harry Potter and if Twilight and those films were not successful, I do truly think we would not get the love that the MCU has today, because I feel like we were like prepped for these this linear storytelling that had all of these plot lines moving all around. And I still think that like if a lot of those movies like Harry Potter and Twilight and the Hunger Games,
what I'm hearing is that we owe this all to Twilight. Thank you so much. Let's move on to the next one. That's a great point. Okay. Moving on. The cultural significance of the Marvel Cinematic Universe cannot be overstated, nor can that of Twilight. With Iron Man's release in 2008, Marvel Studios embarked on an ambitious project to create a shared cinematic universe that interwove multiple superhero narratives. The success of the MCU not only solidified superheroes as a mainstream fascination, but also demonstrated the appetite for interconnected storytelling and complex story character arcs. It brought geek culture to the forefront of popular culture, with audiences eagerly anticipating each new installment and celebrating the intricate connections between films. The MCU's success opened doors for other comic book adaptations and further cemented geek culture's place in the mainstream consciousness.
Boom.
Boom. Like everything we just said, except with more Twilight.
Your improv is getting great.
So good. All right. The next segment is called The Power of Digital Media. Lots of geeks and where to find them. I like that.
Did you have fun with
that
that
really
one?
Good. Yeah.
Where's that from? Do you know what I'm referencing?
It's something and where to find them.
This is the Seinfeld episode. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Oh, Where to Find Them. Yes. Okay.
I almost went with Hype Beasts and Where to Find Them, but I opted out of
it. Okay, moving on. The advent of the internet has revolutionized geek culture by connecting geeks from all corners of the globe and creating thriving online communities, for better or for worse. Geeks no longer have to rely solely on physical conventions or local gatherings to find like-minded individuals. The internet provides a virtual space where geeks can interact, share their thoughts, and form communities based on their specific interests. Online platforms such as forums and social media groups have become hubs for discussions, debates, and the exchange of fan theories, fostering a sense of camaraderie among geeks who may be geographically distant but share a common passion. You can discover all of that at Fandom Socialites on Facebook.
Nice plug.
Thank you. Thanks. Fan fiction, fan art, and fan forums have become integral parts of geek culture, allowing fans to showcase their creativity and contribute to the expansion of beloved franchises. Fan fiction enables fans to tell their own stories within established fictional universe, exploring new narratives and character dynamics. Fan art showcases the immense talent and imagination of artists, offering unique interpretations of beloved characters and settings. Fan forums provide spaces for in-depth discussions and analysis, for better or for worse, encouraging fans to dive deeper into the intricacies of their favorite franchises. These forms of user-generated content not only contribute to the rich tapestry of geek culture, but also empower fans to actively participate in and contribute to the larger geek community. I think that's something that's unique in this era, that before the internet, before that you were a passive observer of these IPs, these fandoms, these things that we loved. And this allowed you to become a part of it. And there's even some fan fiction and fan forums and fan art that have influenced the actual canon content, which I think is for the first time is amazing.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, and I put a note in there, Autumn, about this. There was this gentleman who spoke. His name is Jason Bischoff, and he's essentially talking about the rise of geek culture. And again, a lot of it is sort of derivative. I mean, even what we're doing is technically derivative. Everything's derivative, but a lot of it's very subjective. But he does go into something that I found really, really interesting. And again, you can find his TED Talk if you want to see the whole thing. But he talked about this revolving cycle from culture, content to consumer products, and it just goes in and around. You'll never find me. I'm there, but you'll never find me. So, again, culture, content, consumer products. Like, I think that really encapsulates what exactly is the current model for pop culture. And like, like the content inspires the culture of geek fandom, and then everyone within the fandom of that fandom culture, like, has to be the proudest geek, so they get the most stuff, and so places sell the most stuff to the companies. And my dad just FaceTimed me, and that scared the hell out of me.
In the middle of the show.
Did you see my brain switch?
Yeah, I did.
I was like, so Dad, if you're watching this, stop calling me. But again, it's this cyclical nature of things, from culture, content to consumer products, and how big companies, that now it's the Targets, the Walmarts, all of them. But before, it was like ThinkGeek and Loot Crate and these companies that found this very specific niche
and tapped into some FOMO and
and with the rise of the internet, they can do that. Like, there was this level of FOMO, and really at this point, like, there weren't, like, now those don't work because people just watch unboxing videos. But like, those unboxing videos, which have become incredibly successful for so many people, they spawn from the Loot Crate model of like not wanting to feel, not a part of the culture. And so my dad did it again.
Dad, I'm trying to hang out with my friends.
And so, it's an interesting thing to think about, of like, specifically between like 2008 to now, that cyclical nature of content, culture, and consumer products, and how like things have changed, specifically within all of the other franchises that we've just talked about. And like, just one example, it's right over Autumn's right shoulder. It's like, I think the right shoulder, your right shoulder, is Star Wars. Like, Star Wars. I mean, him too. Like, I think they are the most prevalent version of that. That like Star Wars is culture, is content, and is consumer products, and it's just like you're just in this echo chamber of it. And it's not a commentary on if it's good or bad, but it exists.
And for Star Wars, you no longer even need the content for the consumer product. They say this movie is going to come out, so here's all the characters, and here's everything you can buy before you've even seen it. These characters you've never heard of, things you've never seen, you can buy them now without the movie's not coming out for another month. Like, it's embedded.
And just think about how ubiquitous things like Darth Vader or a lightsaber or the word Jedi have become, where like my dad, who keeps calling, knows who exactly Darth Vader is. He knows what a lightsaber is. Like, for people like, like yourself, or maybe people who, like Autumn's 27, but she's an old soul. And who've grown up in a time where like, they'd be like, what the hell is this? Laser swords? The fact that like everyone, like my mom knows who Doctor Strange is. Like, that, like stuff like that is all driven by culture,
so much
content,
prevalence,
consumer products. Like, and they all sell out. Krista says, we got some comments in here. I was on a bit of a tirade here, but like, look, my dad says hi, but it's interesting. Krista says, and they all sell out. I think that's an interesting sort of thing to unpack. And I don't think we have the time to unpack the definition of like what it means to sell out, but like,
sell out meaning all the product sells. Like they all sell, like they announce something, they sell something before the movie even comes out, and people buy them all before they even know if they like the movie.
I don't think she means it that way.
Krista, Which one did you mean? I think she meant that.
I don't. I think she means like,
See?
oh, literally. Oh, okay. Okay.
1 point for me.
I thought she meant like, oh, they're all sellouts.
Everybody
like,
will make the merch. Yeah.
Like what we will be as soon as someone picks
Oh,
the
yeah.
show up.
As soon as someone
We're
wants
on.
to buy a t-shirt with this logo, we're selling it.
Done. But yeah, it's interesting. I think about like just like this, like a sonic screwdriver, it serves no purpose, right? But it's an identifying marker that like when I have in this context, like everyone knows what it is.
Yeah.
But like if I tried to have like a relationship, you know that with someone who wouldn't know.
Yeah, like what is
like,
this thing?
The hell is this horrible back scratcher you have?
My entire office is filled with that stuff. Yeah. I have this water bottle at work, which I'm not going to show all of it because of, but a lot of people at work are like, what is that? And what is that? I'm like, firefly? Never heard, it's that thing. Depends on the context of where you are. But yeah, but certain things like Star Wars is everywhere. It doesn't matter. If someone's been exposed to, if someone's actually watched the films, they know what it is because of so much exposure to it. Let's talk more about that exposure to that through the rest of this next segment here is streaming platforms and how that contributed. Streaming platforms and social media have played a significant role in propelling geek culture into the mainstream. With the advent of platforms like Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, geek franchises have reached broader audiences, transcending traditional media barriers. You don't have to wait now to try to convince people to come into the theater to check out your geek franchise film. Streaming services have made it easier for fans to access and consume content, enabling the widespread popularity of once niche properties. Social media platforms like Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and now TikTok have amplified geek culture by providing platforms for fans to engage, share content, and create their own communities around their favorite franchises. The virality and instant connectivity offered by these platforms have further accelerated the mainstream popularity of geek culture, making it an integral part of broader cultural conversations.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right. We're at the tail end here.
Moving on. Here we go. Okay, the next one is called The Influence of Geek Culture on Society, a Fourth Thing.
I couldn't think of anything clever.
That's not a reference to anything? I was trying to figure out the reference.
Okay. I guess Fantastic Four.
There you go. Sure.
It's the prequel to A Sixth Sense. The fourth thing.
The fourth thing. All right. Well, now we're going to talk about the influence of geek culture on the wider society, which is definitely something that is a part of the end result of the evolution so far. Geek culture has exerted a significant influence on fashion, merchandise, and consumer trends. Icons and symbols from popular franchises have made their way onto clothing lines, accessories, merchandise, becoming fashion statements and expressions of personal identity. The geek aesthetic has permeated streetwear. Even high-end fashion brands have embraced the influence of geek culture, creating collaborations and collections inspired by beloved franchises. The merging of geek culture and fashion has broadened its appeal and solidified its impact on contemporary style. Geek culture has also left an indelible mark on other forms of media like music and literature. Musicians and bands often draw inspiration from geek franchises, incorporating references and themes into their lyrics and performances. Geek-themed conventions and events have become platforms for live music performances, creating unique experiences that fuse the worlds of music and geek culture. Similarly, literature has been greatly influenced by geek culture, with countless authors incorporating elements of science fiction, fantasy, and superheroes into their worlds. The crossover of geek culture into these artistic mediums has expanded the reach and appeal of geek fandom, connecting with audiences beyond traditional geek circles. One of the most significant positive effects of geek culture is its promotion of diversity, inclusivity, and representation. Geek franchises have embraced characters from diverse backgrounds, breaking stereotypes and providing representation for marginalized groups. This inclusivity has resonated with fans, fostering a sense of belonging and empowerment. Geek culture has become a platform for discussions on social issues, sparking conversations, and driving change. Through initiatives like #WeNeedDiverseBooks and movements for greater inclusivity in geek media, The community has been instrumental in challenging norms and advocating for a more inclusive and representative entertainment landscape. One of the things I wanted to note about this was we talked in our last episode about mental health representation in pop culture. And do you think that because of the nature of geek culture franchises being so inclusive and discussing social issues, they've always been more groundbreaking than traditional forms of media content? Do you think that is really the first place where these kinds of things can be discussed and normalized? Do you think something like Thor's story of depression that we discussed last time would have been as welcome as a groundbreaking representation in some other format that wasn't pop culture, geek culture? You know, could some more serious blockbuster film have tackled such an issue? Would they feel comfortable taking that risk? Because I do think that geek culture tends to be more groundbreaking in their what they can tackle.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, let us know what you guys think. We had a couple of responses, and I have a quick response to that. But like Laura Keelis brings out a good point. She says,
"Oh my gosh,
walk around." She says, "Walk around Kohl's. There is Star Wars branded stuff in every department,
everywhere."
And it's really interesting to see like citizen watches that are like the Millennium Falcon, and I think there's a very inherent reason why the rise in geek culture it just grew exponentially, and it's money. Call it like what you want, but it's money. And it's just, when you look at Star Wars fans, you look at Alien fans, the franchise Alien fans, anything. There is a built-in fan base that you don't even have to, I mean, as we've seen, I'm not throwing shade on anything, you don't even have to put out a good product.
No.
You just have to put out something, and you have a group of people that may or may not buy it. Now, see, Star Wars is such a win because it's so ubiquitous in the world that like you can just get it and immediately identify with other people, which is what is important. Is when you wear a Star Wars shirt, you can identify with other Star Wars fans, or someone can pick you out and do the same thing. Like that's why, like specifically with merchandise and clothes and everything, it's so important. Someone had said earlier, like, because I was like, oh, like this serves no purpose, like at all. And I'm still right. It doesn't. It serves nothing. There's no tangible, reason for me to have this other than, again, it's representation.
There's no function.
There's no function. I don't carry this with me, but if I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt, that is a tangible thing that people can identify me with, rather than like a sonic screwdriver. And I think, there's things that humans that we buy for ourselves, and we buy it for our packs, because we're pack animals. And so like getting ourselves into these very, very specific, geek packs, and now that they've become so ubiquitous, Autumn, that I'm kind of circling back to your question of like, can we showcase these, these questions and these moments of diversity in pop culture, now more than we have before? And I think you're 100% right. We used to be able to, because the people that were watching these, there's a better chance, I feel, that they were part of the marginalized groups already.
Exactly.
So
like being somebody who's a fan of like Star Trek or D&D or Star Wars back in the 80s and 70s, it was making you part of, like you say, like outside of mainstream. You were more marginalized, and so therefore, in general, more open-minded to other marginalized, other non-mainstream concepts and ideas and people and scenarios. And I think that tended to, raise a generation and many generations of people who, if you are a fan of pop culture, science fiction, fantasy, and superhero, you tend to be, in a broad generalization, more diverse and open-minded and ready to discuss these social issues than those who have not been exposed to those things through their childhood.
Yeah. And, we have, I think this is an interesting analogy that Desmond Hassing is making here. I tend to think of culture as a large lake. Most people can only really consider the ideas that are contained in the lake. The geek culture adds ideas to the lake.
I love that. That's a great take. Yeah.
the only caveat I would add to that is that a majority of the lake is now filled with geek culture.
A lot of it, yeah, or references to it or benefiting from it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
or benefiting from it. And so every once in a while, the lakes get drained, and there is this vacuum of space and power for the for it to be filled back up, with whatever is going to sell. Like there is, I say this as maybe a bit of a cynic, but also it's going to lead into we're going to announce to you guys what our next topic is, because this all plays in. But like with to use Desmond's analogy, with the lake being mostly filled with ideas that are geek culture or again influenced by it, and then also to Autumn's question, there are less chances being taken now in actual diversity, or in
you sparked something
in what I would call like realistic diversity or actual diversity, meaningful diversity, and also artistic choices. It's why, like, again, not to be negative, but why there are some people who are not a fan of the current slate of Marvel. But it's because those have become so popular.
They become mainstream. They're not geek culture anymore.
That the risks that you could have taken 15 years ago are just not there.
That's what I'm saying. I think when something is geek culture, you can take all these risks, but once it becomes so popular that it's mainstream culture, they're not as willing to take the risks. As you said, because of money. Because something that's already kind of off to the side isn't expected to make a lot of money. So their motivation tends to be in the message and the art and the creativity, not necessarily in the money. But once it becomes really successful, there's more at stake. So,
exactly. And it's why we start getting into an entire other side of the coin of fandom, which is our next topic for our show in 2 weeks. Autumn, I'm going to drum until you have the title.
I've got the title. Okay. The title of our next show in 2 weeks is called The Psychology of Hating What You Love, Exploring Passionate Criticism in Fandoms. We could also call it toxic fandom. We can call it a lot of different things. But the idea is you can't, like, there's a saying that no one hates Star Wars more than a Star Wars fan. Like, why is that? So let's examine that. Let's talk about that. And I think this episode today was a great way to set the stage for some of that.
This is, boy, what a cliffhanger. But I'm sorry, but there's absolutely no way we're doing a 3-hour show. This is not Jean Dielman. I'm sorry, everyone. I know you're here, but we're not, because Autumn will end up stabbing me in the neck with a knife. And so again, our next topic, we're covering more toxic fandom, because it is just Anthony Kennedy. You don't have to do any homework we do that part.
We do all the work.
You just watch the movies, read the stuff, and listen to the other hoopla.
And
right?
Terry Smith is here. Hello, Terry. Good to see you in the chat.
Care Bear, hello. T Swizzle, the real T Swizzle. But Terry, welcome in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. But yeah, so that's what we're covering next time, because it is something that, unfortunately, me and Autumn have a lot of experience with.
So much in all the various things we've done together.
Much experience. This may be the only thing I'm actually qualified to talk about.
Can confirm.
That and Sprite being too damn spicy.
And with that, don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel, please. We will put up the link for the next show. Actually, I will put up the link for the next show today, so that I don't forget to do it, and like I did this last time.
Here, Autumn, I'll run you through.
Okay.
Boom.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter at fandom_social. Follow us on Instagram at fandomsocial. Follow us on where you are right now, Fandom Social on YouTube.
Like, comment, subscribe to the notification bell.
And then on LinkedIn for the business shorties, Fandom Social, which we've done basically nothing there yet. But follow us, because, wow, boy howdy, stuff is coming. And email us at hello@fandomsocial.com. We would love to hear from you.
Yes, please.
Wait, you forgot the Facebook group. Is there a
Fandom? Oh, no.
Okay.
our producer.
Most importantly,
It's me.
honestly, we would love to see you in our Facebook group if you're not
Mhm.
there already. Fandom Socialites is the name of our Facebook group.
Yes. And before we do let you all go, I have my dumb thing. Autumn
Oh,
got
yeah,
to do her
cherry
dumb
on
thing.
top.
I'm
Okay,
doing
tell
my
people
dumb
what
thing.
cherry on top
Wait,
is.
is this my? There
It's
it is.
a 1 minute or less dumb thing.
This is a 1 minute or less dumb thing. This is what we'll call like a warm close, because it is something that you don't need at all. Warm clothes. I like the idea of warm clothes because it's like they just got out of the dryer and they're all comfy.
Sure,
You
sure.
snuggle up like little bunnies. So this is just a dumb thing that me and Autumn, either me or Autumn, have thought about, and we are now forcing you all to think about it. And it's called Cherry on Top because the cherry on top of your Sunday. So with that,
I don't know
this
what
is this no, you don't. This is something that broke my brain. It's more of a question that people can answer.
Okay.
You can answer it in any of the social channels. You can email us. You can answer here, wherever. But how do our brains remember that we forgot something, but they don't remember what the thing is that we forgot? So like our brains will tell us, I can't remember the name of that. But why don't you just remember the name of it? It's there. It's
but
in the
you
same...
remembered that you forgot it.
I remember that I forgot something, but I can't remember the thing that I forgot. So
Can
someone
I add
who's
something
good
to that?
I
The
can't
brain
stop you.
is the only thing that exists that has named itself.
Pretty vain, which I love personally. So you guys think about that. Why is it, how do our brains remember we forgot something, but we
locked
can't,
away and something else isn't?
But we can't remember what the thing is. It's been driving me insane. So please continue to be insane with me and Autumn. And again, join us in the Facebook group, Fandom Socialites. Email us. You can tons of ways to get in touch with us, or just go to fandomsocial.com. All of the stuff that we said that like is there. So do that.
And someone write Paul's bio for him, please.
I like it.
I mean, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Tenchi, that makes no sense. And that's wrong. And put that in the Facebook group. Thank you. So with that, thank you all so much for hanging out on this Sunday. We really appreciate you. Thank you for being here. And even if you were late, get a watch. It's not that hard. 5 o'clock.
Set an alarm.
It's pretty easy. So thank you guys so much for being here. Have a great night. Enjoy the cherry on top of your Sunday. Go be weird. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Okay, bye.
It's a terrible outro.
Yeah,
get it.